Welcome to JewelryCAM tutorials. In this series of videos we will show you how to use this new CAM program that's been specifically designed for jewelry production, and we will see what makes it different from other CAM programs. Essentially there are two features and one main difference in addition to those two features that distinguishes JewelryCAM amongst other CAM programs. The two features are, one is that it attempts to automate some of the common operations, such as production of band type rings and engagement type rings, and we will discuss what these two types are in a bit. And second, it simplifies the interface as much as it can so that a new operator of this program is not puzzled by all the choices and options that get in the way of work. Finally, the key difference between this and a number of other comparable CAM packages is its speed. It really is quite fast. It's probably one of the fastest CAM packages I have used, especially for 5-axis continuous operations. But we'll get to that in a bit. Let's begin by showing you a very simple and automated operation for producing a band type ring. So here's our simple ring. Band type ring is largely symmetric, and here it's completely symmetric. It has an inside surface and outside surface, which can of course hold patterns or even stone settings and so on and so forth. But it is very, very simple. So we don't really need to worry about where we're going to hold it, how we're going to get to these surfaces. It's pretty easy. So to begin our milling operations, we go to our new JewelryCAM tab called Geometry and click on the wedding band button and then select Geometry. Then select our geometry, press Enter. We notice that it asks us if we want to select any supports. In this case we do not, we don't need them. Press Enter again, and if we zoom out a little bit we will see that it has given us this little preview of our chuck and wax block. This stock we can define as we will. For example, if we're using a pre-made wax block, we can specify its radius as well as height. This is quite important because it will tell our program how to avoid collisions by going above the stock before plunging into it. So, for example, we can make it 16. This is one of the standard cylindrical wax stocks that you can get in the store. And once we're happy with our stock definition and our ring positioning, we can click Apply. By the way, if your ring is positioned in a different way, so it's not following this wax stock definition, you will have to rotate it in Rhino before you proceed with this. But we're happy with our positioning, we click Apply. And we see that right away we have a number of operations generated in our Operations tab. However, these status symbols show that they have not yet been calculated, and within our Rhino window we can see that there's nothing that's been really added or overlaid over top. So we can right click on any one of these operations and we'll see a number of menus and commands. In this case we're going to go and select Calculate All, or we can press Ctrl F5. And you will see that some operations will begin calculating. When an operation is finished, it will have a little check mark in the status. When it's still calculating, it has these little progress bars, as well as an option to stop or cancel its calculation. For the time being, we will wait and let it finish its calculation. While it's doing this operation, we can also notice, oh here we go, now it's finished. We will also notice that there are a number of settings that are applicable to each operation, and these are dependent on the type of operation. So for example, for trimmings, we can specify number of revolves. Our rough operations Likewise, we can specify a number of revolves, but for finishing operations, we can specify more options such as direction of cuts, whether we want spiral cuts, the step over size, meaning really the resolution of our cutting, and the axis mode, 5-axis, 4+1, tilting, and so on and so forth. Finally, as you've probably noticed, on every operation we have an ability to specify a feed rate, plunge rate, retract rate, and rapid rate. You can leave these as default if you're working with regular jeweler's wax, or you can adjust them to whatever is necessary for you if you're working on a different material. Once all of our operations have been calculated, you will see that they are overlaid on top of our model. And we can preview them in our machine simulator by going and clicking on this button, Start Simulation. This will bring up a new window that will show not only our stock piece, but also our machine configuration. To navigate around this window, we use our mouse. When we hold our right mouse button and move it around, we change our perspective. And when we hold the left mouse button and move it around, we kind of tilt or shift our view. And the mouse wheel allows you to zoom in and out. So it's fairly similar to traditional Rhino interface. On the right side, we have a number of our move operations as well as individual steps. And here we can configure what we see on the screen. What I like to do, and it's just purely my preference, is I like to set the stock to transparent and the workpiece to show. This allows me to see where my final piece, my model, is in respect to the stock, and as the stock is being cut away, you will see it being cleared up but still visible. It really gives you an idea of how this operation will look in real life. Finally, this is a center point, as you probably have guessed. This is your 0 point of your machine, and it should align exactly to where your 0 is. So let's press run and see what happens. So our first operation that with JewelryCAM has automatically created is a trimming operation. It takes off any extraneous material. Second is a rough inside cut to remove a lot of the material. Next is a rough outside cut to clear out the material around the outside of the ring. And finally, a rough bottom cutting. All of these operations simply prepare our wax for detailed cutting. Now, here begins our actual final operations, our detailed operations. This is called the finish inside. It goes inside of the ring, one kind of circle at a time, then plunges down a little bit further and continues this way. We can increase the simulation speed to skip through some of these stages or to accelerate them. So here we go. See the lines being drawn. Now it goes on to the next operation, which is the cutting of the outside. Here, instead of going around the circle, we're going across. So once again, these options are configurable. If you prefer to cut both of them in a certain way, you can do so. You'll only have to recalculate these paths, and that will only take a few seconds. And the final cut is behind the ring, so that it will simply fall off when it's done. Now, to get out of a simulator, you just close it. And for example, now let's say for the finish inside, we want to change these horizontal cuts to vertical. All we do is click vertical and apply. You'll see that now our status has changed, indicating that the toolpath needs recalculation. Click that, There it is, it's done, and we can once again preview it in a simulator. Now let's see if we don't want to preview all of these, we just want to preview our finish inside. We can uncheck these toolpaths all the way, let's say, up to our finish inside. Now when we click our start simulation, we will only have the selected toolpaths starting with the finish inside. So you'll notice that once we reopen our simulation window, our options for cutting and stock and so on and so forth have been reset. So let's re-enable them and press play. And here we go. You will see that now we're cutting the vertical angle, just the same as the outside will be done. So here's the inside and here's the outside. They're both done in the same kind of direction. Now if we're happy with all of our toolpaths, let's re-enable them again, and we can click on Write NC File button. We select our file name, click Save, and we're done. So that concludes our band ring operation. As you saw, it's very straightforward. It really only requires selecting a geometry, defining its stock, calculating the toolpaths that have been automatically added to our operations list, optionally previewing the operation, and then writing it out. The really nice thing about JewelryCAM is that even though it automated this process, we could still tweak individual operations, such as, say, finish on the outside. If we wanted to add the resolution or increase the resolution to something like 0.05, we can recalculate this individually and have it be included in our list. So we do not need to rerun the entire set of operations, just one is modified and included now in our final NC file. In the future videos, I will discuss production of more complex rings, such as engagement rings, and beyond that, custom operations, which allow you to produce any object that you wish.